Hey everyone, hope you're doing great. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we'll dive into what if Naruto saved the world but lost everyone's trust. Smash that subscribe button, and be sure to peek at the description below. Let's begin. The dimension of ice was a graveyard of silence, broken only by the ragged, gasping breaths of the world's last hopes. The cold here was not merely physical. It was a conceptual absolute, a freeze that sought to halt the very flow of chakra in their coils. Naruto Uzumaki knelt on one knee, his chest heaving, steam rising from his skin where the golden cloak of the six paths burned against the biting frost. Beside him, Sasuke Uchiha wiped a trail of blood from his left eye, his Rinnegan pulsing with a frantic, weakening luminosity. Above them floated Kaguya Otsutsuki. She was terrible and beautiful, a goddess woven from starlight and apathy. She did not breathe. She did not sweat. She simply stared down at them with the blank, pale eyes of a statue that had decided the insects beneath it had lived long enough. They are persistent, Black Zetsu's voice rasped from within her sleeve, a cancerous whisper in the silence. They are chakra, Kaguya replied, her voice echoing not through the air, but directly into their skulls. And all chakra belongs to me. Naruto gritted his teeth, forcing his trembling legs to straighten. He could feel the exhaustion gnawing at his marrow. They had been fighting for hours, hopping between dimensions, burned by lava, crushed by gravity, and frozen by ice. Every exchange drained them. Every time they thought they had an opening, Kaguya shifted the world itself to deny them. Sasuke, Naruto croaked, his voice rough. How much do you have left? Sasuke didn't look at him. He kept his single visible eye locked on Kaguya. Enough for one more attempt at the seal. But she knows the pattern. She separates us every time we get close. Then we don't give her the chance to separate us, Naruto said, the golden flames around him flaring brighter, fueled by a stubbornness that defied logic. I'll create a distraction. A big one. You use Umenotejikara to swap into her blind spot the second she blinks. She has the Byakugan, you idiot. She has no blind spots, Sasuke snapped, though there was no heat in it, only the cold calculation of a soldier facing execution. Everyone has a blind spot, Naruto insisted. Even a god. He didn't wait for Sasuke's agreement. With a roar that shattered the glacial silence, Naruto launched himself into the air. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 1,000 explosions of smoke filled the ice cavern. 1,000 golden avatars of the chaotic heroes surged upward, a swarm of light against the white void. They screamed, they threw raisin shurikens, they created a cacophony of sensory overload intended to overwhelm even the progenitor of chakra. Kaguya remained unimpressed. She raised a palm. 80 gods vacuum attack. The air fractured. It wasn't a wind technique. It was a barrage of fists made of pure chakra, manifesting from the ether. The clones were not merely destroyed. They were erased, pulverized into motes of light that rained down like dying embers. But amidst the chaos, the real Naruto and Sasuke moved. They were specks of dust in a hurricane, closing the distance. Just a little more, Naruto thought, his hand outstretched, the sun seal on his palm burning hot. Just one touch. They were 10 meters away. 5. Kaguya's eyes narrowed. She didn't retreat. Instead, the space around her warped. A rift in the fabric of reality opened, the Yamatsu Hirasaka. She was stepping out of the dimension entirely. Now, Sasuke! Naruto screamed. Sasuke's eye flared purple. He targeted the space behind Kaguya, intending to swap places with a chunk of ice to sandwich her. Umenotejikara. Nothing happened. Sasuke's eye widened in horror. He clutched his face, blood pouring through his fingers. My ocular power, it's on cooldown. The timing was off by a fraction of a second. The exhaustion had made them sloppy. Kaguya didn't step through the portal. Seeing Sasuke falter, she shifted tactics instantly. From the palms of her hands, gray bones, the all-killing ash bones, protruded. She moved with a speed that belied her floating grace. She bypassed Naruto entirely, recognizing the threat of the sealing jutsu, and lunged for the momentarily incapacitated Sasuke. Sasuke! Naruto twisted in midair, his truth-seeking orbs reshaping into a platform to kick off of. He threw himself between the goddess and his rival. Thwack! The sound was wet and dull. Naruto gasped, his eyes bulging. Kagaya's hand was buried in his stomach, the ash bone piercing through his gut, missing his spine by millimeters but cauterizing the flesh instantly. Naruto! Sasuke screamed, the horror in his voice cracking his stoic facade. Kagaya tilted her head. You seek to protect? You are the vessel of the beasts. You are the larger piece of the puzzle. Naruto coughed, blood spattering onto Kagaya's pristine white robe. He grabbed her wrist with both hands, his grip like iron. The ash bone began to crumble his flesh, a rot spreading from the wound, but the 6 paths yang power within him fought it, a war of regeneration and decay waging in his abdomen. I got you. Naruto wheezed, blood bubbling past his lips. You have captured nothing, Kagaya stated calmly. You are dying. Maybe, Naruto grunted. The golden chakra of the 9 tails roared around him, forming a claw that clamped over Kagaya's shoulder, locking them together. But you're not going anywhere. Inner world. Naruto! Let go! That bone is turning your insides to dust. Kurama's voice was a thunderclap of panic inside the seal. Naruto stood in the sewer of his mind, the water around his ankles boiling with agitation. If I let go, she kills Sasuke. Then she kills everyone. If you die, everyone dies anyway. Kurama roared. The 6 paths Chibaku Tensei requires both of you. You cannot seal her alone. Naruto looked up at the massive fox. The other tailed beasts gathered around, their spectral forms flickering with anxiety. Son Goku, Matatabi, Gyuki, they all looked at him with a mixture of respect and sorrow. The seal won't work, Naruto said softly. The statement silenced the tailed beasts. What are you saying? Kurama growled. I can feel it, Naruto said, clutching his stomach in the mental plane. Touching her like this. I can feel the nature of her chakra. She is the 10 tails. She is the divine tree. Even if we use the planetary devastation, the earth itself is her ally. She'll just break out again. Maybe in a year, maybe in 100 years. But she'll come back. So what? We fight her again. No, Naruto shook his head. His eyes, usually so blue and full of light, darkened with a terrible resolve. The world can't survive another war like this. The alliance is broken. The land is shattered. If she comes back, there will be no one left to fight her. Naruto. Kurama's ears flattened. What are you planning? Naruto looked at his palm, at the sun seal given to him by the Sage of 6 Paths. Hagoromo said I had the power to unite. To bring people together. To become a meeting place for chakra. Don't do it, Kurama warned, realizing the train of thought. Naruto, do not do it. No human vessel can hold that. I'm not just a human anymore, am I? Naruto smiled sadly. I have a piece of all of you. I have the sage's body. I'm the only jar big enough to put the spider in. You will not survive. Kurama slammed his claws into the water. Her will is an ocean of malice. She will consume your mind. You won't be Naruto Uzumaki anymore. You'll be a cage of flesh for a monster. Better me than the world, Naruto whispered. He looked at the fox, his partner, his brother. Kurama. I need you to do something for me. You and the others, you have to hold the door shut from the inside. I refuse. Please! Naruto screamed, tears finally spilling in the mental scape. I don't want to die. I don't want to leave everyone. But look at Sasuke. Look at Kakashi-sensei. They can't do this. It has to be me. The silence that followed was heavier than the gravity dimension. Kurama looked down at the boy he had watched grow from a lonely pariah into the savior of the world. He saw the trembling in Naruto's hands, the fear he was desperately trying to hide. You act like a fool, Kurama rumbled, his voice thick with an emotion that might have been pride or grief. But you are the greatest shinobi I have ever known. Naruto wiped his eyes. Is that a yes? Do it, Kurama snarled, baring his teeth. Drag the witch in. We will hold her down. But Naruto, if you do this, there is no going back. The world will not see a savior. They will censor. I know, Naruto said. I know. Real world. Naruto's eyes snapped open. The blue was gone, replaced by a searing, rhythmic pulse of energy. Sasuke! He shouted, the sound distorted, layered with the roar of a beast. "Get back!" Sasuke, who had been scrambling to his feet, froze. "Naruto? Get Sakura and Kakashi! Get away from me!" Naruto didn't wait. He released the sun seal on his hand, but instead of projecting it outward, he slammed his palm into his own chest, directly over his heart. Uzumaki's secret art, adamantine chains of the void. From Naruto's back, spectral chains erupted, not the golden chains of his mother, Kushina, but chains of deep, bruised violet. They didn't strike Kagaya. They lashed out and hooked into the very air, anchoring Naruto to the fabric of the dimension. Then, he reversed the flow of his chakra. He didn't push. He pulled. Kagaya's eyes widened for the first time in true fear. She felt the chakra of the ten tails within her reacting, drawn not to the moon, but to the singularity that was Naruto Uzumaki. "What are you doing?" she shrieked. "You cannot contain me. I am the progenitor." "Shut up!" Naruto roared. He grabbed her by the shoulders. The black truth-seeking orbs that floated behind him began to spin violently, dissolving into a liquid black sludge that coated both of them. 6 paths, devouring horizon. It wasn't a jutsu taught. It was a jutsu felt, an instinctive application of the creation of all things. Naruto was rewriting his own biology in real time, turning his chakra network into a black hole. The absorption began. It was not a silent process. It was the sound of bones breaking on a cosmic scale. Kagaya screamed, a sound that shattered the remaining ice pillars in the dimension. Her physical form began to distort, elongating, liquefying, and streaming into Naruto's solar plexus. "Naruto!" Sasuke lunged forward, Chidori activating in his hand, desperate to cut the connection, sensing that his friend was committing suicide. "Stay back!" Naruto bellowed. A shockwave of pure, unfiltered malevolence blasted Sasuke backward. It wasn't just wind. It was killing intent so dense it felt like a physical wall of iron. Sasuke hit the ice hard, sliding back 50 meters, gasping as the air was sucked out of the cavern. He watched, helpless, as Naruto was consumed by a sphere of blinding white light. Inside the light, there was only agony. Naruto felt his skin split, and reform 1,000 times a second. He felt Kagaya's memories, millennia of loneliness, betrayal, and a hunger for power, slamming into his mind like a tidal wave of battery acid. He felt the tentails thrashing against his ribcage, trying to tear him apart from the inside. "Hold it!" Kurama's voice roared in his head. "We are anchoring the core! Don't let her will surface." Naruto bit through his tongue. He swallowed the blood. He focused on one thing, the image of the Hidden Leaf Village. The swings set at the academy. Ramen Ichiraku. Hinata's smile. Sasuke's nod. He wove the memories into a net, a barrier of self to contain the infinite void of Kagaya. The white light turned purple, then black, and finally, it collapsed inward with a sickening thrum. Silence returned to the dimension of ice. But the ice was gone. The floor was now bare, scorched rock. The sky above had turned a sickly, swirling mix of charcoal and bruised plum. Sasuke pushed himself up. His body screamed in protest, but adrenaline forced him to move. "Naruto?" he called out. The figure stood in the center of a crater, 50 meters wide. Steam hissed from the figure's body. Naruto stood with his back to Sasuke. His clothes were tattered, the orange jacket burned away, leaving only the mesh undershirt which was torn to ribbons. His skin was wrong. It was pale, alabaster white, almost glowing in the dim light. On his back, 9 Magatama markings had been burned into the flesh, black as ink. "Naruto," Sasuke said again, stepping into the crater. He activated his Sharingan, needing to see. He recoiled instantly. He didn't see Naruto's bright, warm, flame-like chakra. He saw an ocean of darkness. A towering, chaotic storm of purple and black energy that reached into the sky, cold and suffocating. It felt ancient. It felt like Kagaya, but there was a tiny spark in the center, a flickering, desperate golden light, drowning in the dark ocean. The figure turned. Sasuke stopped breathing. It was Naruto's face, but changed. The whisker marks on his cheeks had thickened, jagged and rough like open wounds. His right eye was the deep blue of the ocean, but the pupil was a vertical slit, feral and sharp. His left eye was purple, possessing the ripple pattern of the Rinnegan, but with tomos spinning erratically within it. 2 horns, made of bone-white chakra, protruded slightly from his forehead, curving back into his hair, which had grown longer and wilder, bleaching white at the tips. Is it over? The voice was not Kagaya's. But it wasn't Naruto's either. It was a harmonic distortion, 2 voices speaking at once, one human, one guttural and demonic. Sasuke took a step back. His instincts, honed by years of survival, screamed at him, predator. Threat. Run. Naruto, what did you do? Sasuke whispered, his hand trembling as it hovered near his sword. Naruto looked at his own hands. They were clawed, the fingernails black and sharp. He trembled, fighting a visible internal battle. He looked up at Sasuke, and for a second, the human eyes showed panic. He tried to speak, to explain. He opened his mouth. Greyo laugh. It wasn't a word. It was a pulse of raw power, a sonic boom of chakra that cracked the ground between them. Naruto clamped his hands over his mouth, his eyes wide with horror. He hadn't meant to do that. He had tried to say I'm sorry, but the vessel was too full, the pressure too high. Any release of breath carried the taint of the 10 tails. Sasuke raised his blade. He couldn't help it. The killing intent rolling off Naruto was strong enough to induce hallucinations of death. Sasuke, a voice from above. Sakura and Kakashi fell from the sky, summoned by the gravity shift of the dimension collapsing. The defeat of Kagaya, or rather, her absorption, was destabilizing her pocket worlds. They were being ejected back to the real world. We're falling! Sakura screamed. The world twisted. The ice dimension dissolved into pixels, the valley of the end. They hit the ground hard. Not ice, but water and dirt. The familiar air of the elemental nations filled their lungs. The moon overhead was huge and bright, but the pattern of the Rinne's Sharingan on its surface began to crack. The infinite Tsukuyomi was breaking. Across the world, the cocoons binding humanity began to unravel. People fell from the branches of the god tree, waking up from their dream worlds, confused and frightened. But in the Valley of the End, there was no celebration. Kakashi Hatake scrambled to his feet, supporting a barely conscious Sakura. Sasuke! Naruto! Did we win? Where is Kagaya? She's gone, Sasuke said. He was standing on the water of the lake, staring at the statue of Hashirama Senju. Or rather, the ruins of it. Naruto stood on the head of the statue. He was hunched over, clutching his chest. The ominous aura was even heavier here in the real world. The nature energy of the surroundings was reacting violently to him. The water around the statue was boiling, and the trees on the bank were withering, their leaves turning black and falling off in seconds. Naruto? Sakura squinted. Why does he look different? She took a step forward, ready to heal him. Naruto! You're hurt. Sakura, stop. Sasuke barked, extending an arm to bar her path. What? He needs medical attention. Look at him. That isn't Naruto anymore, Sasuke said, his voice cold, masking the terror gripping his heart. Look at the chakra. Focus, Sakura. Sakura paused. She concentrated. Then she gasped, her hands flying to her mouth. She fell to her knees, vomit rising in her throat. It tasted like death. The air around Naruto tasted like the end of the world. It was the same feeling she had when Kagaya walked past her, that feeling of insignificance, of being prey. No. Sakura wept. No, that's Naruto. It has to be. Up on the statue, Naruto saw them. He saw Sakura fall to her knees. He saw Sasuke with his sword drawn. He saw the fear in Kakashi's exposed eye. They are afraid of me, Naruto realized. The thought was a jagged knife in his heart. It's the overflow, Kurama's voice echoed, sounding strained and distant. We can't contain the aura yet. It's leaking out. To them, you feel exactly like her. Naruto took a step forward, reaching a hand out. He wanted to gesture that he was okay, that he was in control. As he moved, the killing intent spiked. The water beneath the statue exploded into a geyser. Sasuke instantly coated himself in Susanoo ribcage armor. He's attacking! No! Kakashi shouted. Wait, Sasuke! But the reflex was triggered. Sasuke fired a Chidori sharp spear, a beam of lightning aimed not to kill, but to pierce Naruto's shoulder, to pin him down. Naruto saw the attack coming. In the past, he would have dodged. He would have shouted at Sasuke. But now, his body moved on its own. A truth-seeking orb whipped around, faster than thought, and smashed the lightning spear into sparks. Then, the orb elongated into a black whip and lashed out at Sasuke. Sasuke barely dodged, the whip slicing through the stone wing of his Susanoo like butter. Naruto froze. He grabbed his own wrist with his other hand, forcing the arm down. He hadn't told the orb to do that. Defense mechanism, he realized with horror. The Ten-Tails defends itself automatically. He couldn't get close to them. If he did, the defensive reflex might kill them. He took a step back, shaking his head violently. Stay back. The dual voice rasped out again, causing the air to vibrate. Naruto, we can help you! Kakashi called out, stepping onto the water. Whatever this is, we can fix it. Just power down. Naruto looked at his sensei. He wanted to laugh. Power down? If I power down, the seal breaks and Kagaya eats the world. He couldn't explain. He couldn't speak without roaring. He couldn't touch them without burning them. He couldn't defend himself without his reflexes trying to kill them. He was a walking catastrophe. Suddenly, the sound of rushing wind filled the valley. From the forests, shadows emerged. Dozens. Then hundreds. The allied shinobi forces. They had woken up. The nearest battalions, led by the sensory units who had detected the massive energy spike, were converging on the source. Gaara landed on the water, his sands swirling ready for battle. Beside him, the Reikage, the Tsuchikage, and the Mizukage arrived. Temari, Shikamaru, Hinata, Rock Lee, everyone who was nearby. They stopped dead. They saw the scene, the destroyed valley. Sasuke Uchiha with his sword drawn, looking battered. Sakura Haruno weeping on her knees. Kakashi Hatake looking helpless. And facing them, a monster. A horned, pale humanoid radiating an evil so potent that weaker ninja in the back lines instantly fainted from the pressure. Akatsuki? The Reikage roared, lightning crackling around him. Is that Madara? Kagaya? It's the Ten-Tails. A sensory ninja screamed, clutching his head. It's condensed. It's purely evil. It's going to kill us all. Wait. Hinata Hyuga stepped forward, her Byakugan active. She was trembling, veins bulging around her eyes. That chakra signature, deep inside. She squinted, tears streaming down her face. Naruto-kun? The name caused a ripple through the crowd. That thing is Naruto? Kiba yelled, Akamaru whining and tucking his tail between his legs. No way. It smells like death, man. He has been corrupted. The Tsuchikage floated up, dust release gathering in his palms. The boy we knew is gone. That is a demon wearing his skin. Sand coffin. Gaara launched an attack without hesitation. He didn't want to believe it, but his duty as Kazekage came first. If that entity moved, his people died. The massive wave of sand crashed toward Naruto. Naruto stood still. He didn't defend. He couldn't risk hurting Gaara. Wham! The sand slammed into him, burying him against the cliff face. Gaara, stop! Kakashi shouted. It is him. Don't kill him. I am not trying to kill him, Gaara said, his face a mask of pain. I am trying to restrain him. The sand tomb compressed. But then, the sand turned white. It crumbled into ash. Naruto walked out of the dust, the corrosive aura of Kagaya simply disintegrating the sand that touched him. He wasn't doing it on purpose. His mere existence was antithetical to normal matter. He looked at the army. Thousands of his friends. Comrades he had fought for. People he had died for. They were looking at him with eyes full of hatred and terror. Weapons were drawn. Seals were being prepped. This is it, Naruto realized. This is the price. He looked at Hinata. She was the only one not raising a weapon, but she was being held back by Niji's teammates. She was crying his name. He couldn't go to her. He would poison her. Naruto made a choice. He slowly raised his hands in the air, showing his palms. The claws glinted in the moonlight. He pulled the killing intent back as much as he could, fighting the urge of the Ten-Tails to lash out and destroy the threats. He dropped to his knees. He bowed his head, placing his forehead against the water, a gesture of surrender. The army hesitated. He's surrendering? The Raikage paused, his fist inches from launching a lightning bolt. Sasuke watched, his heart breaking. He knew Naruto better than anyone. He knew what that posture meant. It wasn't just surrender. It was a plea. Please don't make me hurt you. Sasuke lowered his sword. He turned to the 5 Kage. Stand down. Sasuke ordered, his voice cutting through the tension. Do not attack him. If you attack him, he will react, and you will all die. He is a threat, Uchiha. The Tsuchikage argued. He is the savior of the world. Sasuke screamed back, losing his composure. He is containing the enemy. He is holding it back. Can't you see that? Sasuke walked over the water, past the terrified shinobi, toward the kneeling monster. He stopped 3 feet away. The heat was unbearable. The malice made his skin crawl. Naruto, Sasuke said quietly. Naruto didn't look up. He stayed bowed, shivering. We're going to seal you, Sasuke said, his voice trembling. Not to kill you, but to contain the aura. Until we can figure this out. Naruto gave a single, jerky nod. Sasuke turned to the seal masters of the alliance. Bring the repression seals. The strongest ones you have. Now, as the seal masters rushed forward with scrolls and chains, Naruto remained perfectly still. He let them wrap the heavy iron chains around his neck, his arms, his legs. He let them slap paper tags glowing with kanji onto his skin. Every tag hissed as it touched him, burning his skin, but he didn't flinch. I'm sorry, he thought, projecting the words into his own mind, hoping maybe, just maybe, Kurama could hear him. I saved the world, but I lost my place in it. The chains tightened. The heavy barrier rose around him. Naruto was hoisted up, bound and muzzled like a rabid animal. As they dragged him away, towards the containment unit, he caught one last glimpse of the moon. It was clean. It was bright. At least, he thought as the darkness of the ceiling coffin closed over his eyes, the sun will rise tomorrow. And for the first time in his life, Naruto Uzumaki welcomed the dark. The darkness was not empty. In the deepest sublevel of Konohagakure, far beneath the roots of the recovering village, there was a chamber that did not officially exist. It had been constructed decades ago by the second Hokage, intended to hold threats that could not be killed, only forgotten. The walls were lined with sekiseki stone, the same chakra-absorbing mineral used in the hidden clouds prisons, but layered 10 feet thick. In the center of this void, Naruto Uzumaki hung suspended. He was not standing. He was not sitting. He was hoisted 3 feet off the ground by massive iron chains that were bolted directly into the ceiling. The chains were wrapped in fuinjutsu tags, glowing with a dull, oppressive red light. They coiled around his wrists, his ankles, his waist, and his neck. He hadn't moved in 14 days. To the Umbu Black Ops stationed outside the heavy blast doors, the prisoner was a statue of terror. To Naruto, he was fighting a war that made the Fourth Great Ninja War look like a sparring match. Quiet, he told the screaming voice in his head. Mine, everything is mine, return it to me. The voice of Kage Otsutsuki was like a drill boring into his prefrontal cortex. It wasn't just a voice, it was a sensation. It was the feeling of being crushed by a planet. It was the memory of eons of solitude. It was a hunger so vast it sought to consume the stars. Naruto's body, now pale as moonlight and marked with the jagged black tattoos of the corruption, twitched. A ripple of purple energy flared across his skin. Immediately, the seals on the chains hissed. Lightning arced from the ceiling, shocking his body with enough voltage to stop an elephant's heart. Naruto didn't scream. He couldn't. His vocal cords were currently being used to suppress a guttural roar that wanted to shatter the village above. He simply gritted his teeth, his slit-pupilled eyes squeezing shut, and absorbed the pain. The pain was good. The pain was grounding. It reminded him that he was still Naruto Uzumaki, not the rabid goddess. Focus on the pain, Kurama's voice rumbled, sounding exhausted within the mental landscape. The great fox was lying flat on his belly in the sewer of Naruto's mind, his tails wrapped tight around the cage doors, holding them shut against the flood of white and black sludge trying to burst through. Do not let her in. Do not let her win. I won't, Naruto thought, the words echoing in his own skull. He opened his eyes. The left one, the Rinnegan, spun lazily in the dark, seeing the flow of chakra in the walls. He could see the Umbu guards outside. Their chakra was small, flickering, and terrified. They were afraid of him. Good, Naruto thought, a tear leaking from his human eye. They should be. The summit of 300 feet above, the air in the Hokage Tower was thick enough to choke on. The round table, usually a place of diplomacy, felt like the center of a battlefield. The 5 Kages sat in their respective chairs, but the atmosphere was devoid of the camaraderie that had defined the war. Tsunade Senju, the 5th Hokage, was absent. She was in the hospital, overseeing the critical care of thousands of wounded. In her place sat Kakashi Hatake, the Hokage-elect, looking more tired than any man had the right to be. His mask could not hide the gray pallor of his skin or the dark circles under his eyes. To his right sat Gaara of the Sand, his arms crossed, his face a mask of stone. To his left, the Reikage tapped a heavy finger against the wood, the rhythmic thud-thud-thud sounding like a war drum. Inoki, the Tsuchikage, floated slightly above his chair, his back aching, his expression sour. Mei Tarumi, the Mizukage, looked between them all, her usual smile replaced by a frown of deep concern. The report is verified, Shizen said, her voice trembling as she stood at the head of the room holding a clipboard. Beside her stood Ino Yamanaka, the acting head of the sensory division. Read it, the Reikage barked. Ino took a breath. She looked pale, as if she had just seen a ghost. Subject Naruto Uzumaki. Current status, Class SSS Containment. 2 weeks ago, at the conclusion of the war, the subject absorbed the entity known as Kagaya Otsutsuki and the entirety of the Ten-Tails chakra. She paused, her hands shaking. We have attempted to scan the subject's chakra network 20 times. Every sensor who has attempted a deep dive has collapsed from psychological trauma. Trauma? Inoki scoffed. From a scan? It's not just chakra, Lord Tsuchikage, Ino whispered, looking him in the eye. It's malice. Pure, concentrated malice. When we touch his mind, we don't feel Naruto. We feel her. We feel a desire to end all life. It is so loud. It's deafening. And the boy? The Reikage asked. Is he still in there? Ino hesitated. There is a spark. A very small, very compressed spark of Naruto's signature. But it is surrounded by an ocean of darkness. He is barely holding it back. The Reikage slammed his fist onto the table, splintering the wood. Then he is gone. We are housing a bomb in the foundation of this village. A bomb that has the power to destroy the continent. He is not gone, Gaara said, his voice quiet but carrying a dangerous edge. Sand began to trickle from the gourd at his side. He surrendered. He let us chain him. A monster would have killed us all at the valley. A monster might be biding its time. A countered, standing up, his massive frame casting a shadow over the table. Or maybe the boy is just the lock on the cage, and the lock is rusting. You heard the girl. He is barely holding it back. What happens when he sleeps? What happens when he creates a clone? What happens if he gets angry? He saved us, Kakashi said. His voice was hoarse. Reikage-sama, he saved the entire world. We cannot simply execute him. I didn't say execute, the Reikage growled, though the thought had clearly crossed his mind. But we cannot treat him as a hero. He is a Jinchuriki, but not like we were. Killer Bee talks to the 8 Tails. They are partners. This is a parasitic takeover. If Kagaya breaks out, we are in no condition to fight her again. We have no Sasuke Uchiha. He is in the hospital with a shattered arm and chakra exhaustion. We have no Hagoromo ghost to give us powers. If Naruto fails, we die. So what do you propose? Mei asked softly. We reinforce the seals, Inoki said, floating lower. We create a prison that cannot be opened. We bury him deep. And we throw away the key. He is no longer a shinobi of the leaf. He is a living artifact of mass destruction. He must be quarantined. Permanently. You are talking about burying a 17-year-old boy who just gave up his life for you, Gaara hissed, sand swirling around his ankles. I will not allow it. Sunigakure will not allow it, and Kumobakure will not allow a potential apocalypse to sit unchecked because of your sentimentality. The Raikage's lightning armor flickered to life, sparks dancing across his shoulders. Stop it! Kakashi slammed his hands on the table. The room froze. Kakashi was not yet Hokage, but the Sharingan eye, though now gone, replaced by a normal one, had left a legacy of respect. And the sheer desperation in his voice commanded attention. Fighting amongst ourselves is what caused Kagaya in the first place, Kakashi said, rubbing his temples. We need to know if he can be stabilized. We need to know if there is a way to extract the chakra without releasing her. The extraction would kill him, Ino noted quietly. Better one death than millions, Inoki muttered. Gaara glared at the old man. We need a medical assessment, Kakashi decided. Not a sensory scan. A physical assessment. We need to know how the corruption is affecting his biology. If his body is breaking down, the point is moot. If he is stable, we discuss containment. Who would be foolish enough to get close to him? The Raikage crossed his arms. My sensors say the air around him melts skin, Sakura, Kakashi said. He looked out the window at the reconstruction efforts. Sakura Haruno. She is the best medic we have, and she knows his physiology better than anyone. And May added she loves him. If anyone can reach him, it is her. Or, Inoki grunted, she will be the first casualty of the new war. The long walk. Sakura Haruno stood before the blast doors of Sector 0. She was wearing full medical garb, gloves, a mask, and a chakra-resistant apron. But she felt naked. Her hands were trembling. She clenched them into fists, forcing them to stop. Pull yourself together, Sakura. It's Naruto. It's just Naruto. But she knew it wasn't just Naruto. She had seen him at the valley. She had felt the nausea that rolled off him like heat waves. For the past 2 weeks, she had been treating Sasuke, healing his arm, listening to his silence. Sasuke wouldn't talk about it. Whenever she mentioned Naruto, Sasuke would just look away, a profound guilt etched into his features. He did what he had to do, was all Sasuke had said. And now he's paying for it. Sakura took a deep breath and nodded to the Umbu captain guarding the door. The captain, a man wearing a tiger mask, hesitated. Haruno-san, the Umbu said, his voice muffled. Protocol dictates I warn you. The density of chakra inside is toxic. Do not stay longer than 10 minutes. If you feel dizzy, leave immediately. If he moves, leave immediately. I understand, Sakura said. The heavy seals on the door were unlocked. The gears ground together with a sound like dying groans. The massive steel slab slid open. A gust of cold, stale air hit her face. It didn't smell like a prison. It smelled like ozone and sulfur. It smelled like the air after a lightning strike, sharp and metallic. Sakura stepped inside. The door began to close behind her, but she waved a hand. Leave it ajar. She walked down the long, dimly lit corridor. The only light came from the seals lining the walls, pulsing in time with a slow, heavy heartbeat that seemed to permeate the very stone. Thump! Thump! She reached the viewing glass. Beyond it was the containment chamber. She gasped. Naruto was there. The sight of him suspended in the chains broke her heart. He looked so small. The last time she saw him, he was glowing with the power of the sun, leading the charge. Now, he looked like a broken doll. But then her eyes adjusted, and she saw the changes. His skin was stark white. The horns on his forehead were not costume. They were bone, piercing through his skin. His hair was long and wild. And the aura, even through the reinforced glass, she could feel it. It was a pressure on her chest, a whispering in her ear. It made her want to run. It made her want to hide. It's Naruto, she repeated like a mantra. It's Naruto. She punched in the code for the inner door. The hiss of decompression followed. She stepped into the chamber. The silence was absolute. The dripping of water from a leaky pipe was the only sound. Sakura walked across the stone floor. Her medical boots clicked softly. Naruto didn't move. His head hung low, chin resting on his chest. His hair obscured his face. Naruto? She whispered. No response. She moved closer. She needed to check his vitals. She needed to check the integration of the foreign tissue. She reached into her pouch and pulled out a diagnostic scanner, but as soon as she activated it, the device sparked and died. Chakra interference, she muttered. Okay. Old-fashioned way. She stepped up to him. She was close enough to touch him now. Up close, the terror was palpable. The air around him shimmered. She could feel the heat radiating from his skin, a cold heat, like dry ice. Naruto, it's me, she said, her voice shaking. It's Sakura. I'm going to check your heart, okay? She reached out. Her hand hovered over his chest, right where the mesh shirt was torn. Slowly, agonizingly, Naruto's head lifted. Sakura froze. His face was a road map of tragedy. The whisker marks were jagged scars. His eyes were open. The right eye, the blue one, looked at her. It was filled with such profound sadness that Sakura felt tears prick her eyes. Sakura. The voice was a wreck. It sounded like he was gargling gravel. It was layered with a low, subharmonic growl that vibrated in her teeth. Don't touch. I have to, Sakura said, forcing a brave smile. I'm your doctor. You're hurt. She coated her hands in the green glow of the mystical palm technique. This was her element. She could fix this. She could heal the burns. She could soothe the scars. She placed her hands on his chest. Hisses. The reaction was instantaneous. As soon as her chakra touched his skin, it didn't heal. It ignited. Naruto's body convulsed. A pulse of black and purple energy lashed out from his core, reacting violently to the invasion of foreign chakra. Ah! Sakura screamed, jerking her hands back. She looked at her palms. They were blistering. The skin was turning gray and peeling away, as if she had dipped them in acid. The corruption was eating her chakra, traveling up her arms. Sakura! Naruto roared, a sound that was half human, half beast. The chains rattled violently as he tried to pull away from her, to put distance between them. Get back! Get away! The force of his shout created a shockwave. Sakura was thrown backward, skidding across the stone floor. She hit the wall hard, the breath knocked out of her. She looked up, gasping, clutching her burning hands. Naruto was thrashing in the chains. The seals on the walls were glowing blindingly bright, trying to suppress the sudden spike in Bijou power. I can't control it. Naruto choked out, saliva dripping from his fanged mouth. The purple eye was spinning frantically. It defends, it hates, go! Sakura, go! Sakura sat there, trembling. She looked at him. Really looked at him. And for one terrible, unforgivable second, she didn't see her teammate. She didn't see the boy who had asked her on dates. She didn't see the hero. She saw a monster. She saw a creature of pure destruction that had just burned her hands with a touch. Fear, primal and cold, gripped her heart. She scrambled backward, her heels scraping on the floor. Her breath came in short, panicked gasps. Naruto stopped thrashing. He saw it. With his enhanced perception, he saw the dilation of her pupils. He heard the erratic rhythm of her heart. He smelled the pheromones of terror. He saw her recoil. The thrashing stopped. Naruto went perfectly still. The silence returned, heavier than before. He looked at her, and the light in his blue eyes seemed to dim. The sadness was replaced by a hollow, crushing resignation. You! Naruto whispered, his voice cracking. You're afraid. Sakura struggled to her feet, clutching her injured hands to her chest. Naruto. I didn't mean. Go, Naruto said. His voice was flat. Dead. Please. Before I hurt you again. I can try again, Sakura sobbed, stepping forward, though her body betrayed her by flinching. I can use gloves. I can. Sakura. He looked at her. The two mismatched eyes bored into her soul. There is nothing to heal, he said. This isn't a wound. This is what I am now. He lowered his head, his hair shadowing his eyes. Tell them I'm stable. Tell them to lock the door. Sakura stood there for a long moment, tears streaming down her face, mixing with the dust on her cheeks. She wanted to run to him. She wanted to hug him, and tell him it would be okay, but her hands were burning. And the killing intent filling the room was making her knees buckle. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry, Naruto. She turned and ran. She ran out of the chamber, past the glass, down the corridor. She burst through the blast doors, gasping for air, falling into the arms of the Umbu guard. Inside the chamber, Naruto listened to her footsteps fade away. He looked down at his own chest, where her hand had touched him. The skin was smoking. She is gone, Kurama said softly. Yeah, Naruto thought. She is. He closed his eyes. One down. The verdict. 3 hours later. The sun was setting over Konoha, casting long shadows over the village. The Hokage's office was silent. Sakura sat on a chair, her hands bandaged heavily. She had given her report. She had been honest. She had told them about the burns. She had told them about the defensive reflex. She had told them about the fear. The 5 Kage had voted. It was 3-2. The Reikage, Tsuchikage, and, reluctantly, the Mizukage had voted for permanent, maximum security containment. Gaara and Kakashi had voted for rehabilitation, but they were overruled by the sheer danger presented in Sakura's medical report. The corrosive nature of his chakra made him a biological hazard. Now, Kakashi stood alone in the sublevels. He didn't bring guards. He walked into the chamber alone. Naruto was waiting for him. He seemed to know. Yo, Naruto rasped, a ghost of his old catchphrase. Naruto, Kakashi said. He didn't come too close. He stayed 5 feet away, respecting the invisible barrier of death that surrounded his student. Sakura told you? Naruto asked. She did. She's okay? Her hands will heal. The emotional shock, that will take longer. Naruto nodded. Good. That's good. Kakashi took a deep breath. He reached into his flak jacket and pulled out a scroll. It was a black scroll, sealed with the Hokage's official stamp. The council has convened, Kakashi said, his voice steady but his eyes betraying his grief. And the 5 Kage have reached a decision. Naruto didn't react. Tell me, you have been designated a Class SSS threat, Kakashi read. Designation: the vessel. Due to the instability of the entity Kagaya Otsutsuki and the volatile nature of the Ten-Tails chakra, you are deemed a permanent risk to global security. Kakashi paused. He hated the words. He hated himself for saying them. You are to be transferred to the void, Kakashi continued. It is a facility that will be constructed in the land of iron, in a neutral zone, far from population centers. It will be manned by a rotating guard of elite shinobi from all 5 nations. You will be bound by the heavenly prison seal. Prison, Naruto said. Containment, Kakashi corrected, though the word tasted like ash. We will not stop looking for a cure, Naruto. I promise you, I will spend every day of my tenure as Hokage looking for a way to separate you from her. There is no cure, Sensei, Naruto said softly. You can't cure a Jinchuriki of the Ten-Tails. If you pull it out, I die. If you loosen the seal, everyone dies. We will find a way, Kakashi insisted. No, Naruto looked up. You won't. He rattled the chains. But it's okay. I accept it. Kakashi blinked. You accept it? I wanted to be Hokage, Naruto said, a sad smile touching his lips. I wanted to protect the village. I wanted to be acknowledged. He looked around the dark, damp cell. I am protecting the village, aren't I? By being here. By keeping her locked up. Naruto, this isn't the life you deserve. It's the life I have, Naruto said. Hagoromo entrusted me with this. If this is what it takes to keep the peace, then I'll be the prisoner. He looked at Kakashi. The blue eye was clear. Just promise me one thing. Anything, Kakashi said. Don't let them visit, Naruto said. Sasuke. Hinata. Sakura. Don't let them come to the void. Why? Because, Naruto closed his eyes, remembering the terror in Sakura's face. I can handle the chains. I can handle the pain. But I can't handle seeing them look at me like I'm a monster. If they stay away, I can pretend. I can pretend they still remember me as Naruto. Kakashi swallowed the lump in his throat. He pulled his mask up, though it was already covering his face. He nodded. I will issue the order. No visitors. Restricted access. Thanks, Kakashi-sensei. Kakashi turned to leave. He couldn't stay. If he stayed, he would break down. He would try to break the chains, and that would doom them all. He walked to the door. Sensei? Kakashi stopped. Tell them. Naruto's voice drifted through the darkness. Tell them I'm happy. Tell them I'm sleeping. Don't tell them it hurts. Kakashi didn't turn around. He couldn't let Naruto see him cry. I will, Kakashi lied. The blast door slammed shut. The locks engaged. The seals flared to life. Naruto was alone. He let his body relax, just a fraction. Immediately, the pain returned, the burning sensation of Kagaya's will scraping against his nerves. He looked into the darkness of the cell. So, he thought. This is my Nindo now. The shadows seemed to press in, whispering promises of madness. Naruto took a deep breath of the stale air, visualized the faces of his friends one last time, and locked them away in the deepest vault of his heart. Then, he began the long wait. The mind was not a sanctuary. It was a siege. In the years before the war, Naruto Uzumaki's inner world had been a sewer, damp, dimly lit, echoing with the sound of dripping water and the malice of the Nine Tails. It had been a place of caged bars and antagonism, but it had possessed a certain architectural logic. There was a floor, a ceiling, and a locked gate. That place was gone. The new mindscape was a void of infinite, blinding white. There was no floor, only a suspension in a featureless expanse. There was no ceiling, only the oppressive weight of a sky that felt like it was made of solid lead. And in the center of this whiteness, there was no cage. There was a tree. It was colossal, a phantom reflection of the god tree, its roots woven from muscle and bone, delving deep into the invisible substrate of Naruto's soul. Its bark was pale gray, pulsing with a slow, wet rhythm. Naruto sat at the base of this tree. He was cross-legged, his astral form mirroring his physical state, pale, horned, and marked with the heavy black tattoos of the seal. He wasn't meditating in peace. He was meditating in the center of a hurricane. The air around him screamed. It wasn't a sound audible to the ear, but a psychic pressure. A billion voices whispering, shouting, weeping, and raging all at once. The collective memory of the chakra fruit. The will of Kagaya Otsutsuki. Give it back. Mine, all mine. Thieves, ungrateful children. I will unmake you. I will weave you into the soil. The whispers were like sandpaper on the brain. They sought to erode Naruto's sense of self, to sand down the edges of Naruto Uzumaki until he was smooth enough to be absorbed into the greater whole of the goddess. Hold the line! Kurama's voice boomed, cutting through the white noise like a thunderclap. The Nine Tails was massive, larger than he had ever been, his size bolstered by the fragments of the other tailed beasts that swirled around him. But he looked ragged. His orange fur was dull, his ears flattened against his skull. He was wrapped around Naruto and the base of the tree, his 9 tails acting as physical barriers, swatting away the tendrils of white sludge that constantly tried to creep up Naruto's legs. I'm holding. Naruto gritted out. In this mental plane, he could speak, but every word felt like vomiting glass. She's heavy today, Kurama. She is reacting to the distance, Kurama growled, swiping a massive claw at a forming visage of Kagaya in the mist, dispersing it. We are moving away from the source of the battle. She feels the connection to the physical world weakening, so she is thrashing. The other beasts? Sleeping, Kurama said, glancing at the floating spheres of chakra where Son Goku, Matatabi, and the others resided. They are exhausted. They are pouring every ounce of their will into the repression seal. I am the only one awake right now. You and I, Naruto. We are the last shift. Naruto looked up. Above the tree, a giant eye, the Rinne Sharingan, stared down at him. It didn't blink. It just watched, waiting for a moment of weakness. A moment of anger. A moment of grief. If I sleep. Naruto whispered. If you sleep deeply, she wakes up, Kurama warned. You must maintain the lucid state. Even when your body rests, a part of your mind must remain here, guarding the gate. You can never truly sleep again. Naruto let out a shaky laugh. Sounds fun. It is the price, Kurama said, his voice softening just a fraction. He lowered his massive head until his snout was inches from Naruto's face. The great fox's red eye reflected the tiny, struggling figure of his host. Naruto. Listen to me. The corrosion is accelerating. Naruto looked down at his hands. In the mindscape, they were turning translucent, turning into the same white substance as Kagaya. I know. It's not just your body, Kurama said. It's your chakra signature. To the outside world, the Naruto they knew is gone. You feel like the Jubi now. You radiate death. I saw Sakura's face, Naruto said, his voice hollowing out. The memory was a sharp spike of pain in the white void. The fear in her green eyes. The way she had recoiled. She looked at me like I was dirt. Do not dwell on it. Kurama snapped, baring his teeth. Emotion is her gateway. If you feel despair, Kage uses it. She feeds on the darkness in your heart. You must be a stone, Naruto. You must be nothing. How can I be nothing? Naruto shouted, standing up, his frustration momentarily pushing back the white mist. I'm human, Kurama. I'm hurting. My friends are terrified of me. I'm locked in a hole. How am I supposed to not feel anything? As his anger flared, the ground beneath him rumbled. The roots of the god tree tightened around his ankles. The whispers grew louder, turning into shrieks of triumph. Yes, let the hate flow. You are alone. You are abandoned. Naruto, stop! Kurama slammed a tail down, creating a shockwave that shattered the encroaching roots. Calm down. Now, Naruto gasped, realizing what was happening. He forced his breathing to slow. He pictured a calm lake. He pictured the leaf exercise. He pushed the anger down, burying it deep, compressing it until he felt numb. The roots receded. The whispers quieted back to a drone. Naruto sank back to his knees, trembling. I'm sorry. Do not apologize, Kurama rumbled, looking tired. Just survive. You made a choice, Kit. You chose to save them. You did not choose to be thanked for it. I know, Naruto whispered. I didn't think it would be this quiet. The physical world, Konoha maximum security, real-world silence was different. It wasn't the white noise of the mind, it was the heavy, suffocating silence of stone and iron. 14 days had become 30. Naruto hung in his chains. His body had adapted to the strain, muscles locking into a permanent state of tension. He didn't eat. The biomass of the tentails provided infinite energy, sustaining his cells even as it slowly overwrote them. He didn't drink. He simply existed. The Umbu rotation changed every 4 hours. They couldn't handle the exposure for longer than that. Even through the walls, the aura induced migraines, nausea, and vivid nightmares. Naruto could sense them. With the sage's sensory abilities amplified by Kaguya's power, he was omniscient within a 5-mile radius. He could feel the village above rebuilding. He could feel children playing. He could feel the sorrow in the cemetery. He could feel them. He felt Kakashi in the Hokage Tower, drowning in paperwork and guilt. He felt Sakura in the hospital, scrubbing her hands raw, over and over again. He felt Hinata standing at the gates of the Hyuga compound, looking toward the prison, her heart a knot of conflicted resolve. And he felt Sasuke. Sasuke was a storm cloud. His chakra was jagged, restless, pacing the perimeter of the village like a caged tiger. Naruto closed his eyes. Stay away, team. Please, just stay away. The heavy blast door groaned. Naruto didn't need to look. He felt the chakra signature. It was sharp, cold, and immensely powerful. It was the only signature that could stand against his own without crumbling. The seals on the door hissed and disengaged. Not by authorized code, but by force, a subtle genjutsu applied to the locking mechanism, bypassing the Umbu entirely. The door slid open. Sasuke Uchiha stepped into the containment chamber. He looked better than he had at the valley. His arm was bandaged and in a sling. He wore a simple black cloak. His hair hung over his left eye, hiding the Rinnegan. He didn't wear a mask. He didn't bring guards. He walked into the room as if he owned it, the pressure of Naruto's killing intent washing over him. Sasuke didn't flinch, though Naruto saw the subtle tightening of his jaw, the way his hand twitched near his sword hilt. The door closed behind him. Silence stretched between them. The two halves of the 6 paths. The sun and the moon. The savior and the shadow. Sasuke stopped 10 feet away. He looked up at Naruto, suspended in the chains. They told me I wasn't allowed in here, Sasuke said. His voice was calm, but there was a tremor of suppressed rage beneath it. Kakashi put a prohibition order on the entire sector. S-class restriction. Naruto didn't answer. He stared at Sasuke's chest, avoiding his eyes. Don't speak. Speaking is dangerous. I went to the hospital, Sasuke continued, taking a step closer. I saw Sakura. She wouldn't tell me what happened. She just cried. She said you were gone? Sasuke paused. Are you gone, Naruto? Naruto's jaw worked. He wanted to scream. I'm right here! He wanted to tell Sasuke about the tree, about the whispers, about how hard it was to keep the sky from falling. But if he opened his mouth, the roar would come out. The corruption would leak, so he stayed silent. Sasuke narrowed his eyes. You saved the world. You absorbed the progenitor. And now you hang here like a criminal. Is this your idea of martyrdom? Because it pisses me off. Sasuke took another step. The killing intent spiked. The air shimmered purple. Sasuke's cloak fluttered as if caught in a strong wind. Answer me! Sasuke shouted, his composure cracking. You never shut up. You're the loudest, most annoying idiot I've ever met. Why are you silent now? Say something. Yell at me. Tell me I'm being an ass. Just say something. Naruto squeezed his eyes shut. A single tear escaped, burning a trail down his pale, tattooed cheek. I can't, Sasuke. I can't. Sasuke saw the tear. He misinterpreted it. To him, it didn't look like sadness. Amidst the terrifying aura of Kaguya, the tear looked like mockery. It looked like the weeping of a crocodile. Is it true? Sasuke whispered, his voice dropping to a dangerous low. What the council says? That Naruto Uzumaki is dead? That you're just a shell holding the monster? Naruto shook his head frantically. No! It's me! Then prove it! Sasuke drew his sword, the sword of Kusanagi. The metal rang in the small chamber. Prove you're still in there. Fight me. Resist. Sasuke lunged. It wasn't a killing blow. It was a strike aimed at the chains, intending to sever them, to force Naruto to move, to force an interaction. Danger, the Ten-Tails instinct screamed. Naruto's eyes snapped open. The pupil was a slit. The Rinnegan flared. Before the sword could touch the chain, a spectral arm of chakra, purple and skeletal, erupted from Naruto's chest. It wasn't a conscious defense. It was the automatic reaction of the ultimate life form preserving its captivity. The chakra arm backhanded Sasuke with the force of a freight train. Crack! Sasuke was launched backward. He smashed into the stone wall, spiderwebbing the reinforced masonry. He slid to the ground coughing, his sword clattering away. He looked up, blood trickling from his lip. He looked at Naruto. Naruto was staring at the spectral arm in horror. He willed it to dissipate, but it lingered, flexing its claws, radiating pure malice. It was Kaguya's chakra, reaching out, tasting the air. See? The voice in Naruto's head whispered. You hurt him. You always hurt them. You are a weapon. Sasuke wiped the blood from his mouth. He stood up slowly. He didn't attack again. He deactivated his Sharingan. He looked at Naruto with an expression that was far worse than anger. It was disappointment. Total, crushing disappointment. I see, Sasuke said softly. So it is true. Naruto tried to make a sound. A whimper. Anything. The Naruto I knew, Sasuke said, picking up his sword and sheathing it, would never have stopped fighting. He would have found a way to suppress it. He would have found a way to speak. Sasuke turned his back on him. You gave up. You let her win because it was easier than fighting for your life. No! That's not it. I'm fighting right now. Naruto screamed internally. I'm fighting harder than I ever have. I'm leaving the village, Sasuke said, walking toward the door. Kakashi wants me to lead a task force to hunt down remnants of the Otsutsuki. I'm going. He paused at the door, his hand on the frame. I thought after everything, we would finally walk the same path. But you went somewhere I can't follow. Sasuke looked back over his shoulder. His eyes were cold obsidian. Goodbye, Naruto. The door slammed shut. Naruto stared at the metal slab. The finality of the sound echoed in his soul. Sasuke was gone. He believed Naruto was lost. He believed Naruto had given up. Inside the mindscape, the white sky darkened. A storm began to brew. The roots of the tree tightened around Naruto's legs, thorns digging into his astral flesh. He abandoned you, Kaguya whispered, her voice sweet as poison. They all abandon you. Only I remain. Only I am eternal. Let go, and we can destroy them for this betrayal. No, Naruto croaked, his physical head hanging low. He didn't abandon me. I pushed him away. It is the same result, Kurama rumbled sadly. You are alone, Naruto. Yeah, Naruto whispered to the empty cell. I am. The transfer. 3 days later, the order came down. The preparations for the move were extensive. The village was put on high alert, though the civilians were told it was a drill. The route from the Hokage Tower to the village gates was cleared. Naruto was not walked out. He was placed inside a device known as the sarcophagus. It was a heavy iron maiden lined with suppression tags, mounted on a hovering transport platform used for moving heavy construction materials. Blindfolded, gagged, and sealed, Naruto felt the movement. He felt the sun on the metal casing as they moved him outside. For a brief moment, he could feel the warmth of the sun penetrating the iron. It was the first warmth he had felt in weeks. Konoha, he thought. Goodbye. He sensed the escort. It was a small army. Kakashi was there. Yamato. Sai. A dozen elite Anbu. They moved in silence. No one spoke. The gravity of what they were doing weighed on them. They were exiling their savior. As they reached the village gates, the transport stopped. Are the perimeter seals secure? Kakashi's voice, muffled by the iron. Secure, Hokage-sama, an Anbu replied. The escort from the land of iron is waiting at the border. Good. Proceed. Naruto sensed the hesitation in the chakra nearby. Someone was standing at the gate who wasn't part of the escort. Hinata. She was hiding behind a tree, her chakra signature fluttering like a trapped bird. She wasn't interfering. She was just watching. Naruto focused on her. He tried to send a pulse of reassurance, a tiny burst of his old warmth. But as soon as he gathered the chakra, it corrupted. It turned cold and sharp. Hinata flinched. He felt her gasp. He felt her fear. Naruto stopped. I can't even say goodbye, he realized. Anything I do just hurts them. He withdrew his senses. He curled inward, retreating deep into the mindscape, sitting at the base of the tree, closing his eyes against the white glare. Move out, Kakashi ordered. The transport hummed to life. The vibration rattled Naruto's bones. They left the village. The familiar signatures of Ramen Ichiraku, the academy, the stone faces, they all faded into the distance. The void. The journey took 3 days. They traveled north, into the land of iron, where the samurai ruled and the snow never fully melted. The prison was waiting. It wasn't a building. It was a natural fissure in the earth, a canyon known as the Devil's Throat. A facility had been suspended over the abyss, anchored by massive chains to the cliff walls. It was a cage hanging over nothingness. The transport arrived in the middle of a blizzard. The wind howled, masking the sound of the machinery. Naruto was unloaded. They didn't remove the sarcophagus until he was inside the main containment unit. The room was vast, circular, and freezing. The floor was etched with the most complex ceiling array Naruto had ever seen, the work of the combined intellect of the 5 nations. The Iron Maiden opened. Naruto fell out, his limbs stiff, crashing onto the cold stone floor. He gasped, taking in gulps of freezing air. He looked up. Surrounding him, on a raised walkway protected by chakra glass, were samurai guards in full armor. Their masks were blank. They held spears tipped with sea stone. There were no friends here. No Kakashi. No Sakura. No Sasuke. Just the cold. A voice came over the intercom. It was mechanical, stripped of humanity. Subject 001. Stand in the center of the array. Naruto slowly pushed himself up. His joints popped. His chains dragged on the floor. He walked to the center of the circle, initiating heavenly prison barrier. The floor glowed blue. Beams of light shot up from the ground, forming a cage of pure energy around him. The weight of it hit him instantly, a suppression field that made it difficult to even think, let alone mold chakra. It dulled the connection to Kaguya. It quieted the whispers. It also dulled his connection to the world. He could no longer sense the outside. He couldn't feel the forest, or the animals, or the distant presence of life. He was truly cut off. Naruto sat down in the center of the cage. The cold seeped into his bones. "Kurama?" he called out mentally. "I am here," the fox replied. But his voice sounded distant, muffled by the barrier. "The connection is thin." "We're alone," Naruto said. "Yes." Naruto pulled his knees to his chest. He rested his chin on his arms. He thought about the swing set at the academy. He thought about how he used to sit there, watching the other kids go home with their parents. He thought about how he used to wish for someone to acknowledge him. He had gotten his wish. The whole world acknowledged him now. They acknowledged him as the monster that saved the world. And in exchange, he had returned to the swing set. Only this time, the swing set was in a cage at the end of the world, and no one was coming to push him. Naruto closed his eyes. "I can hold it," he whispered to the silence of the void. "I can hold it." But for the first time, a small, treacherous thought bloomed in the back of his mind, watered by the whispers of the goddess. For how long? The lights in the facility dimmed. The long night began. The year was measured not in days but in breaths. One breath to center the mind. One breath to check the seal. One breath to push back the encroaching white tide of Kagaya's will. Naruto Uzumaki sat in the center of the circle of silence. The facility known as the Void, suspended over the Devil's Throat Canyon in the Land of Iron, was a marvel of architectural despair. It was a cold, spherical chamber of steel and sekiseki stone, maintained at a temperature just above freezing to slow metabolic rates and chakra flow. There were no windows. The only light came from the blue luminescence of the heavenly prison barrier, a cage of hard light chakra that hummed with a sound that vibrated in the teeth. Naruto had not spoken to another living soul in 365 days. His appearance had settled into its new, cursed normality. His skin remained the color of moonlight, stark and unnatural. The horns on his forehead had grown slightly, curving back into his unruly, shoulder-length hair, which had bleached white at the tips. The black seal markings on his body shifted slowly, like oil under the skin, reacting to the ebb and flow of the titan trapped within him. He wore a simple gray prisoner's tunic, thin and ragged. He didn't feel the cold. The furnace of the Ten-Tails burned hot enough to keep him warm in a blizzard, hot enough to melt the stone beneath him if he lost focus for even a second. "They are celebrating," the voice whispered. It was Kagaya. She was no longer a shriek. She had become a constant, low-frequency narration of his existence. "Today is the anniversary," she purred, her voice sliding through his synapses. "They are lighting fireworks in the leaf. They are drinking sake. They are cheering for the peace you bought them." Naruto didn't react. He kept his eyes closed, his hands resting on his knees. "And here you are," she continued. "The savior. The hero. Sitting in a cage like a dog that bit its master." "Shut up," Naruto thought. He didn't speak aloud. His vocal cords had atrophied from disuse, and he feared the sound of his own voice. The last time he had hummed a tune, the vibrations had cracked the suppression glass. "Open your eyes, child. Look at your kingdom of nothing." Naruto opened his eyes. The right was blue, the left purple. He stared at the barrier. Through the sensory link of the sage, dampened but not extinguished by the prison, he could feel the guards. 12 samurai on the upper gantry. Their heartbeats were steady, but their fear was a pungent scent in the air. They never looked at him directly. They looked at the floor, or the monitors. To them, he was not a man. He was a nuclear core that could go critical at any moment. 1 year. He wondered if Sasuke was still looking for the Otsutsuki traces. He wondered if Sakura's hands had healed without scarring. He wondered if Kakashi was sleeping. He wondered if they remembered him as Naruto, or only as the vessel. "They have forgotten," Kagaya whispered. "They have replaced you. It is the nature of humans. They discard what they fear." "They haven't," Naruto mouthed silently. But the doubt, planted a year ago in the darkness of Konoha's dungeon, had taken root. It was a small, thorny weed in the garden of his resolve. Konohagakure, the Hyuga archives. The village was indeed celebrating. The first anniversary festival of the armistice was in full swing. Lanterns painted the night sky in hues of red and gold. The streets were packed with revelers, shinobi and civilian alike, toasting to a future without war. But in the deepest recesses of the Hyuga compound, there was no celebration. Hinata Hyuga sat surrounded by mountains of scrolls. The room was dusty, lit only by a single flickering candle. Her eyes, usually a pristine lavender, were bloodshot and rimmed with dark circles. She hadn't slept properly in weeks. Hinata-sama? Ko Hyuga, her bodyguard, slid the door open. He looked concerned. The festivities have begun. Your father expects you at the main hall. The Hokage will be making a speech. I'm not going, Hinata said, her voice raspy. She didn't look up from the scroll she was deciphering. It was an ancient text crumbling at the edges, written in a dialect of the Whirlpool country that had been dead for decades. Hinata-sama, please. It has been a year. You cannot keep doing this. You must accept. Accept what? Hinata snapped. She turned to look at him, her Byakugan activating involuntarily, veins bulging around her temples. Accept that he is a monster? Accept that he is gone? The reports. Ko stammered, taken aback by her intensity. The reports say his chakra is corrupted. That it is pure malice. The reports are wrong, Hinata said, turning back to the scroll. Or rather, they are incomplete. She slammed her hand down on the parchment. Look at this, Ko. It's a theoretical treatise by Mito Uzumaki regarding the containment of infinite mass. The paradox of the leaking jar. Ko stepped closer, confused. I am not a seal master, my lady. It says here, Hinata pointed, her finger trembling, that if a vessel contains a chakra source that exceeds the vessel's volume by a factor of 10, the vessel must create a negative pressure to keep it inside. The vessel must become a vacuum. She looked up, her eyes shining with a frantic, desperate hope. Don't you see? The malice they feel, the killing intent that radiates off him, it isn't him leaking. It's the pressure of him holding it back. It's the heat generated by the friction of his will against hers. She stood up, the scroll clutched to her chest. If he had been corrupted, the pressure would be gone. He would be calm. He would be Kagaya. The fact that he feels so terrifying, the fact that it feels like he's about to explode, means he is still fighting, Ko finished, his eyes widening. He is fighting every second of every day, Hinata said, tears finally spilling over. He is burning himself alive to keep the lid on the jar. And we locked him in a freezer and left him alone. She grabbed her cloak. Where are you going? Ko asked. To the Hokage, Hinata said, striding toward the door. I'm going to make Kakashi-sensei listen. We have to get him out. We have to help him bear the weight. We can't leave him in the dark anymore. Hinata-sama, wait. The council. To hell with the council. The curse word, so alien coming from the gentle heiress, hung in the air like a slap. Hinata vanished in a swirl of leaves, heading for the tower. The void, the infiltration, the blizzard outside the void intensified. Visibility was zero. The wind howled like a dying god, masking the sound of the approaching shadows. They were not Otsutsuki. They were not alien invaders. They were men, 12 figures, dressed in white cloaks that blended perfectly with the snow, moved across the suspension cables of the bridge. They moved with the suicidal precision of fanatics. They wore porcelain masks with no features, save for the character for pure painted on the forehead. They were the remnants of the Root, a splinter faction that believed Danzo Shimura's philosophy had been too soft. They believed that the only way to ensure the safety of the ninja world was the complete eradication of all tailed beast chakra. To them, Naruto Uzumaki was not a hero. He was the ultimate impurity. A biological error that needed to be corrected. Target is in the central core, the leader signaled with a hand sign. The barrier suppresses chakra, but it also suppresses his ability to defend. We have a 3-minute window before the backup generators cycle. They reached the airlock. The leader placed the seal tag on the door. It wasn't an explosive tag. It was a disruption tag, designed to scramble the frequency of the electronic lock. Click. The heavy steel door hissed open. The alarms blared instantly. Red lights bathed the facility. Intruder alert. Sector 4. Intruder alert. Inside the cage, Naruto's head snapped up. Hostiles, Kurama barked in his mind. 12 signatures. Killing intent directed at us. Are they here to free us? Naruto thought, a naive hope flickering for a microsecond. No, Kurama growled. They reek of oil and ash. They are here to finish what Kagaya started. On the gantry above, the samurai guards drew their swords. Halt! This is a restricted area. The intruders didn't halt. They moved in a blur. Kunai, laced with paralysis poison, flew through the air. 3 samurai fell, choking on their own tongues. The leader of the intruders, a man using earth release to meld with the wall, bypassed the guards entirely. He dropped down from the ceiling, landing on the control console for the heavenly prison barrier. For the purity of the world, he whispered. He didn't hack the console. He detonated a suicide vest strapped to his chest. Boom! The explosion rocked the entire facility. The control panel was vaporized. The intricate machinery generating the hard light cage sputtered and died. The blue beams of light flickered and vanished. In the center of the room, the suppression weight lifted from Naruto's shoulders. For the first time in a year, he took a full breath. But with the breath came the surge. Without the barrier dampening the connection, Kagaya's chakra roared through his coils like a broken dam. Reag! Naruto fell to his knees, clutching his head. The sudden influx of sensory data was blinding. He could hear the snowflakes hitting the roof. He could hear the heartbeats of the men trying to kill him. The barrier is down! One of the intruders shouted. Kill the demon! Now! The remaining 11 assassins leaped from the gantry, descending into the pit. They formed a circle around the kneeling Naruto. They didn't hesitate. They wove hand signs in unison. Fire style, great flame annihilation. Lightning style, false darkness. Wind style, vacuum blade. A convergence of elemental destruction slammed into the center of the room. An inferno of fire, lightning, and wind engulfed the kneeling figure. The explosion shook the foundations of the canyon. Smoke and steam filled the chamber. Target destroyed? One of the assassins asked, panting. The smoke began to clear. Standing in the center of the scorched crater was not a corpse. It was a sphere of black fluid. The truth-seeking orbs. They had reacted automatically, expanding to form a shield around Naruto. The black shell dissolved, retracting into Naruto's back. Naruto stood up. His clothes were singed, but his skin was untouched. His eyes were wide, the pupils dilated. He looked at the assassins. He recognized the masks. He recognized the fighting style. Root, why? Naruto rasped. His voice was a rusty gate, and used to speech. I am holding it back. You are a bomb, the leader of the squad spat, drawing a katana. And we are the disposal unit. Die, monster! He lunged, his blade coated in high-frequency wind chakra, sharp enough to cut diamond. Naruto didn't move. He watched the blade coming. Kill him, Kagaya whispered. Rip his throat out. Show them what a real monster looks like. Defend yourself, Naruto. Kurama shouted. Naruto moved. He didn't strike. He dodged. He sidestepped with a fluidity that looked like water flowing uphill. The blade missed his neck by a millimeter. Naruto grabbed the assassin's wrist. Let go, Naruto groaned. The assassin's eyes widened. Where Naruto touched him, the white cloak began to turn gray and crumble to ash. The corruption. Naruto's touch was toxic. Aya! The assassin screamed, dropping the sword. He kicked Naruto in the chest, breaking free, scrambling back and clutching his withering wrist. He's leaking! The assassin screamed. Don't let him touch you. Use long-range jutsu. The squad spread out. They unleashed a barrage of shuriken and kunai, all tagged with explosive notes. Bam! 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 Naruto danced through the explosions. He was a ghost in the smoke. He refused to attack. He refused to release a tailed beast bomb. He refused to use the Rasengan. If he used offensive ninjutsu, he would have to draw on more chakra. If he drew on more chakra, the seal would weaken. If the seal weakened, Kagaya would reach out. So he fought with nothing but his body and his passive speed. He appeared behind one assassin and chopped him on the neck. The man folded. He swept the legs of another. But there were too many of them, and Naruto was weak from a year of atrophy and starvation. A chain whip caught his ankle. Got him! Currents surged through the chain. Naruto convulsed, falling to one knee. 3 assassins rushed him, spears poised to impale his heart. Let me out! Kagaya screamed. They are going to kill us! No! Naruto roared. He couldn't dodge. He couldn't block without hurting them. He took it. Thunk. 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 3 spears pierced his body. 1 through the left shoulder. 1 through the stomach. 1 through the thigh. Naruto gasped, blood, dark, almost black blood, splattering onto the floor. The pain was blinding. But worse than the pain was the instability. The physical trauma shattered his concentration. The mental gate swung open. No! Naruto screamed. But it was too late. A shockwave of purple chakra erupted from his body. It wasn't a technique. It was a raw expulsion of energy, like a reactor venting steam. The 3 assassins holding the spears didn't even have time to scream. They were vaporized. Instantly turned to dust by the sheer density of the chakra. The blast wave hit the walls of the chamber, cracking the Sekiseki stone. The remaining assassins were thrown back like ragdolls, their bones shattering against the walls. The facility groaned. The suspension cables holding the void over the canyon began to snap. Ping! Ping! Snap! The floor tilted. Naruto stood in the center of the carnage, pulling the spears out of his body. The wounds closed instantly, steam rising from the flesh. He looked at the pile of ash that used to be men. He looked at his hands. They were glowing with an ominous violet light. I killed them, he whispered. They attacked you, Kurama said, his voice urgent. It was self-defense. Naruto, listen to me. The facility is collapsing. You have to move. I killed them, Naruto repeated, his eyes hollow. I promise. I promised I wouldn't. Naruto! Move! The ceiling collapsed. A massive slab of concrete fell toward him. Naruto instinctively raised a hand. A chakra arm smashed the concrete into pebbles. He looked up. The sky was visible through the hole in the roof. The snow was falling into the prison. He realized the truth then. As long as he was in a cage, people would come. They would come to study him. They would come to kill him. They would come to save him, and anyone who came near him would die. The prison wasn't protecting the world from him. It was a target. I can't stay here, Naruto said. The realization was cold and sharp, colder than the wind. I have to go where no one can find me. He walked toward the wall. Stop! A surviving samurai, bleeding from a head wound, staggered to the edge of the gantry. He pointed his sword at Naruto. Prisoner! Stand down! Naruto looked up at the samurai. The samurai froze. He saw the eyes. He saw the sorrow of a god. Naruto didn't speak. He crouched, channeling chakra into his legs. Boom! He launched himself upward. He soared past the gantry, past the broken roof, into the blizzard. Konoha, the Hokage's office. It makes sense, Kakashi muttered, reading the scroll Hinata had slammed onto his desk. The negative pressure theory. We assume the malice was active aggression. But if it's passive containment, then we are torturing him, Hinata said, her voice trembling with rage. Every seal we place on him makes it harder for him to hold it back. We are squeezing a balloon that is already full. Kakashi stood up, looking out the window. We need to recall him. We need to restructure the containment. Maybe a barrier that filters chakra rather than suppressing it. Shikamaru burst into the room. He didn't knock. His face was pale. Hokage-sama. Urgent comms from the land of iron. Kakashi turned, a sinking feeling in his gut. What happened? The void has been destroyed, Shikamaru said. A terrorist attack. The facility collapsed into the canyon. Hinata let out a strangled cry, her hands flying to her mouth. And Naruto? Kakashi asked, gripping the edge of his desk. Gone, Shikamaru said. The guards reported that he broke out. Did he kill the guards? Kakashi asked, dreading the answer. No, Shikamaru shook his head. He killed the attackers. But the guards, he just bypassed them. But Kakashi, the report says he headed north. North? Kakashi looked at the map. North of the land of iron is the frozen wastes, Shikamaru finished. Uninhabited. Nothing lives there. Hinata collapsed to her knees. The wilderness, land of snow borders. Naruto ran. He didn't run like a ninja, leaping from tree to tree. He ran on the ground, trudging through waist-deep snow, moving away from civilization. He wore only his tattered prisoner tunic. The cold bit at his exposed skin, but he welcomed it. The physical sensation of freezing distracted his mind from the whispers. He had been running for hours. He had crossed the border. There were no villages here. No roads. Just endless white peaks and howling wind. He stopped at the edge of a frozen lake. He looked at his reflection in the ice. The monster stared back. The horns. The eyes. The pale skin. "I'm sorry," he whispered to the reflection. "I tried to be good." "You are good," Kurama said softly. "You are too good for this world, Naruto." "Where do we go?" Naruto asked. "Somewhere quiet," Kurama replied. "Somewhere they can't hurt themselves on us." Naruto nodded. He walked out onto the ice. He was free of the cage. He was free of the chains. But as he looked at the vast, empty horizon, he realized the truth. The cage wasn't the prison. The cage was his body. And there was no escaping that. He tightened his fists, bowed his head against the wind, and kept walking into the whiteout, vanishing like a ghost into the storm.